Hello, welcome to TriggeredCare. I'm Alex. Today I'm going to be doing a story time about my first real life boyfriend. So, let's get into it. When I say real life boyfriend, it's because I had my first boyfriend as an online boyfriend. He was a very sweet boy. We went to the same online school. But it was rather uneventful. We just talked a lot. He wrote me poems. He was my age. Yeah. But then, shortly after him, I met a boy who became my real life first boyfriend, which is very different than an online boyfriend. He was actually my friend's ex-boyfriend, I think, by this point. But I was 14 years old, relationships. I was naive. I didn't think relationships got that intense at that age. I didn't think it was too big of a deal to date him. But you don't want to date him anymore. So I agreed to go out with him. And actually, the messed up part of that is he asked me out on a day that I attempted to kill myself. I overdosed on a bunch of pain relievers. I passed out. And then when I woke up, I was real sad, and me and him had sort of been texting back and forth, but, I didn't know him very well, and I can't remember. I must have told him over text or something about it, and then he called to ask me out. And I was so flattered, and also so hungry for love. I'm like, heck yes, give me some of that. So we started dating, and, dates when you're that young, and I was still in homeschool. It wasn't like I was in public school, or it was the summer after homeschool, and so dates were like barbecues at his house, walking around the neighborhood. That sort of deal. And for the first couple of weeks, it was a lot of fun. I was still super nervous because I had been homeschooled for a couple of years. I was very socially awkward. But his ma seemed to like me, and his siblings. He had a big family, sort of like mine. And yeah, they were nice people, and I enjoyed going over there. And I was allowed to go over there, once or twice a week until the first kiss, that happened with the first boyfriend. And it was a couple weeks in, we were hanging out in his room, and let's just say I was not ready for it. There was a lot of tongue. It wasn't pleasant like any first kiss. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's going on. I'm just like, oh, there's a big tongue in my mouth. He's about 6 inches taller than I am. He's a pretty big dude, and I'm like, alright, I guess we can make out. But I didn't really want to make out that much. So after a little bit of making out, it's like, let's go for a walk or something. And that was awkward, and I told my friend about it, and we laughed about it, because she had her first kiss with him too. And we were calling him, Grima Worm Tongue. Being kind of mean about it, but, we're kids. And so his family's having this big barbecue the next weekend, and I go over there, and there's kids running all over. There's neighbor kids over. There's a lot of people over there. And so my boyfriend wants to go downstairs to his room, which is in the basement. It's separate from everything, and so I'm like, alright. So we go down there, and he wants to make out, and I don't really want to make out. I don't like the feeling of it. I don't. So I turn my back to him, like I'm gonna lean against him and sit down and just hang out. But then, he starts groping at me, and my fear kicked in real fast. And I didn't freeze. At first, I went mute. I couldn't talk, but I didn't freeze. I tried to pry his arms off of me, and that's when he just went at it stronger, and then he started prying my legs apart, and I was trying to pry my legs back together. And then I black out a bit. And then when I come to, I am curled up in a ball. My eyes are closed. I'm trying to get a feel for where I am because I don't know what happened to that time. And his pants are off, or not completely off. They're pulled down, And then he has his hand on my hand, and my hand is on his man part, which I was too terrified to open my eyes. I didn't want to see it. And I didn't know that I was getting triggered from earlier memories at this point, because those memories hadn't come back to me. So I was just, frozen. And then we hear creaks on the stairs as his mother is coming down the stairs. And so he pulls up his pants real quick. I sort of sit up, I sit up as much as I can, but I can't really even get off the floor. I don't know if I had to pull up my pants or not. I don't remember. All I remember is there was a deck of cards nearby. And I grabbed that deck of cards and I started shuffling. Because I had learned how to shuffle cards at camp, the summer before. And I was just shuffling those cards, and I was shaking like a leaf, but as long as I had my hands on those cards, I could focus on it. And when his mom comes into the room, she sees what's going on. She can tell immediately that she's got to get me out of there, so she grabs a book that she had bought for her boys, and she brings it over to me and is showing me this book and is helping me ground. Meanwhile, my boyfriend doesn't know what the heck is going on. He's like, "What are you doing in my room, Ma?" And then she's like, "Well, I want to hang out for a bit. I'm going to talk to Alex for a bit." And so she's showing me this book, and I'm not crying, but I feel like I need to cry. And then she goes, "I think it's time to take Alex home." And so we go back upstairs. I get taken home. And then I text message him to never talk to me again. To which he responds over text message that he's going to kill himself. To which I didn't respond. And then he messaged me later saying that he tried to kill himself, but the rope broke. I still didn't respond. I was going to go to the same high school as him, but then he got kicked out, or he switched schools for whatever reason. He had Asperger's, so he had some social issues anyway. I didn't see him for a long time after that. He did turn himself in a few years later. And I lied to my mother because cops called my mom and asked her about it. And I told her that he was crazy and, I couldn't be. I think I would remember that, but I was so terrified of what she would do to me. I was willing to keep that secret, because I didn't have to see him. I didn't want to see him. I had, repressed it and not thought about it for so long. It's like I don't want to deal with this. Especially not with my mother. And I didn't see him for a while after that. Then a few years ago, I was out at a bar with my friends. And he's at the bar. And it's my 22nd birthday, something like that. I don't even remember. It was some 20 birthday. And then he walks up to our table. And I'm in therapy by this point. I've done some recovery by this point. And I look him dead in the eye. and I ask him what the hell his problem is, you know. And then he leaves, and I'm triggered as all poop. And then, about a year ago, I didn't see him, but he was in the paper, because he tried to kill himself by burning his house down. And then his ma and his brother found him, called the cops. He went out to his car and took out a foot-long blade because he wanted the cops to shoot him. Now the cops show up, and they don't shoot him, they just taser him, put him in a cell, and then he was released the next day on bail. So I haven't heard about him since, but first boyfriends, what are you gonna do? So that was my really depressing story about my first boyfriend. I'm sure y'all have depressing stories about boyfriends or girlfriends. We tend to attract toxic relationships very well. There's resources down below, along with the Discord and the Reddit and the Facebook and all of that stuff. So I hope y'all have a good one.